So I was flicking through the real book today looking for practice material, and I came across the tune Freedom Jazz Dance, which is a tune that I know from the Miles Davis album Miles Smiles. It was his second great quintet with Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams and Ron Carter. It's actually by a tenor saxophone player called Eddie Harris, and I wasn't familiar with Eddie Harris's version of it, so I googled that and had a listen. And it's really interesting to hear how different the two versions are. They were actually recorded a year apart, so the Eddie Harris version came in 1965 and then Miles recorded it in 1966. And interestingly, from my point of view, or from a bass player's point of view, is it's actually the same bass player on both versions. So Ron Carter plays bass on both versions, and they are completely different approaches to it. So the tune basically comprises three phrases. Now in Eddie Harris's version they just play the three phrases back to back, boom boom boom, and that's the way you heard me play it on the intro there. In Miles's version they leave this extra gap of a couple of bars between each phrase, and that's filled up by kind of improvisation from the rhythm section. Herbie Hancock's throwing in some interesting kind of B flat 7 altered voicings, and it's very, very open and free. So really completely different approach between the two, and it's really interesting to compare Ron Carter's bass playing on the two versions. But anyway, the tune is interesting because it really just goes to show, you know, why jazz musicians love playing on dominant seventh chords, because you can just take a single dominant seventh chord and you can really get away with just, you know, in terms of note choice, you can really get away with almost anything. You can make it work. And the melody really owes a lot to kind of fourth and fifth intervals, which, you know, are surprisingly tricky to play on the bass. It really gives us a kind of technical challenge and something a bit different from what bass players normally play. So you got phrases in there like this one, for example. So going D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F. So when you're playing in fourths like that, it's a really interesting technical challenge. How do you play that without it kind of all ringing together in a big kind of mess like that? So executing phrases like that accurately is really tricky. And another one would be this. So anyway, let me play you the three phrases that make up the melody. So the first one goes like this. And then you've got this. And then finally, this is the longest phrase by far. The last phrase goes like this. So some really interesting stuff in there, and very unusual for bass players to play stuff like that. I've been trying to work out how to play jazz melodies from the real book since I was in my late teens. It's just been something that I've done. I really think that's helped, maybe even more than anything else, to build my technique. You know, it really makes you think about playing stuff which is challenging and difficult on the bass neck.